How's everybody doing today? Welcome back to another episode of the Banker Next Door. I am your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. Today, I wanted to take a look at a report that came from the National Association of Realtors and Realtor.com on the affordability of housing. It's pretty incredible report, a little bit on the shocking side, but we're going to take a look at that. But first, I want to go into, so this was a CNBC article that was based about the report. And basically it says, here's exactly how unaffordable today's housing market is and where it's getting worse. So a couple of the key points here. So more than 40% of the nation's 100 largest metropolitan markets are struggling with a lack of affordable housing. Home sales in lower and middle market tiers continue to underperform the high-end market. And this is all based on a new report from the National Association of Realtors, and Realtor.com breaks down affordability and supply, shedding light on exactly where the pain points are in the market. Now, we'll come back to this article here in just a second, but I wanted to go to, so this is, if you go to Realtor.com and you click on research, you can then bring up the report here. So this is called Affordability and Homebuilding State-by-State Report Cards. And we have like the highlighted findings, but I just want to scroll down here for a second. So they give grades on each state, has like affordability criteria. And then you get into some nice charts here so they could tell you. So basically red and green, red being extremely unaffordable, green being affordable. And then we go down here, and then it has like home building criteria. And then it gives, final grades, there's room for improvement everywhere. But then what's interesting here is you get down to the bottom, they have a total state report card score, and you can actually click on each one of these. Like if we go to Montana, like Montana currently has a D. Affordability components are a 0. Home building components like 70.4, total score 35.2, and we'll get into the scoring in a little bit in just a minute here as we get into this. But let's take a look at like Texas. So Texas has an A minus, and they have an affordability component of 55, home building component of 88, total score of 71.5. Right now, like Florida has a C. I would say Florida has a C probably because so many people are moving in there, and it's probably, dragging down some of their scores and driving up prices because of demand. But you can see here, I mean, most of this southeastern, south central part of the United States, I mean, this is where, a lot of the affordability is. Thus, you're seeing this is why there's so much growth and demographic shifts to these states. If we go down here, you see Alabama's got a B minus, Georgia's got a B, South Carolina's got an A, North Carolina's B plus, Virginia B minus, Virginia's got a C, but Kentucky's got a C plus. Let's go. Where's Tennessee at here? Well, Tennessee's got a C. That's interesting. Again, because of the number of people moving in there, just like Florida, the score might be, getting drugged down a little bit just because of the, the demand. Maybe causing surges of price. I'm speculating there for the second, but and then it has a distribution by region here. So you can see like Midwest has an A1, Midwest, South is A2, Midwest, B, there's 4. I'm sorry. So this is broken down by state. So Midwest has one state that's an A, 2 in the South are A's, Midwest 4 are B's, 6 in the South are B's. Midwest 7 are C's. In the Northeast, you have 5 states that are C's. And in the South, you have 9 that are C's. And in the West, you have 9 that are C's. The West has got 1 state that's a D. And then F, Northeast has got 4 states that are an F. The West has got 3 states that are an F. So it's pretty interesting breakup there. And then South and Midwest earn top marks overall. Zoning policy can get in the way without a doubt. And then it has like an appendix, just says raw state data. So you can go through each state as you go through here. But let's go up for it. Now I just want to comb through some of the findings here. So I have another report here that I'm going to read to you guys. So some of the key findings. So income-based affordability gaps. So households earning $100,000 annually can afford 37.1% of available listings. That's not good. But a balanced market would require 60.7%. Middle income buyers earning $75,000 annually can afford only 21.2% of listings, while a balanced market would need 48.1%. Low income families earning $50,000 can afford only 8.7% of listings. Deficit of affordable homes. The report estimates a deficit of nearly 364,000 homes priced under 340,000 for households earning 100,000 and nearly 416,000 homes under 255,000 for those earning 75,000. Impact on first-time buyers. First-time buyers, particularly those relying on 10% down payment loans, face challenges in accessing affordable starter homes. State-level disparities. Some states are identified as having particularly poor home affordability, including Oregon, Connecticut, California, Hawaii, New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Impact of mortgage rates. So lower mortgage rates could improve purchasing power and make homes affordable, but the overall affordability challenges persist. So further analysis. The report also examines the impact of housing affordability on wealth building opportunities for home ownership. It highlights the importance of addressing both low affordability and insufficient supply of homes, particularly for middle and low income households. The report uses the Realtors Affordability Distribution Curve and Score to analyze affordability at different income levels and compare current housing market conditions to the balanced market. So as we go through that, now let's go back to the article here for a second. It says highlighted findings. So states in the South and Midwest lead the nation in terms of current housing affordability. Southern and Western states are building the most homes, with just 7 states from these two regions accounting for over half of the permits issued for new home construction in 2024. That's pretty wild. We assigned letter grades to measure housing position based on current affordability and current construction as a proxy for future affordability. With this approach, no state received an A+, and only 1 A and 2 A- final grades were given out, as all 50 states and DC have room for improvement. States in the South and Midwest received all of the good grades given out, A's and B's, on the basis of affordability and home building. States in the West and Northeast with generally stricter zoning and land use regulations received all of the bad grades, D's and F's. And then it kind of goes on, realtor.com, kind of giving their plug there. And then it goes on to say, it has become harder and harder to become a homeowner, with high prices and mortgage rates remaining. The unfortunate reality, and increasing the supply of homes is the clear solution. States have a clear mandate to address housing affordability, so we are assigning grades based on how they are doing now and how well they are addressing the future of building affordable homes. Our score is a weighted average of percentile ranks across 2 affordability metrics and 2 construction metrics. The Realtors Affordability Score was 25%. The median earner's share of income spent on median priced listings, ranked low to high, was 25%. Permit to population ratio was 40% of the grade, and new construction premium, ranked low to high, was 10%. So after applying a curve to the distribution of scores, we assigned letter grades according to the following table. So a grade of an A+ got a score of 77.5+. An A was 72.5 to 77.5, and A- was 70 to 72.5. And then it gets into B+, B, B-, C+, C, C-, D+, D, D-, and F. And then it goes into the affordability criteria. What did it go through? And again, I think just looking at the chart here, you could just see here, like the entire Western side of the country is pretty much either a light or a deep red. The middle part, central part of the country is pretty much all green. And then as you get over here to the East Coast, it's a little bit more of a mixed bag. Up in the north, particularly Northeast, you got a lot of red up there, starting with New York State and running up with, what I would call the usual suspects. You get into Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and then coming down there, New Jersey, Delaware, but then Pennsylvania gets more green. Obviously West Virginia, Ohio, Virginia, Maryland. But interestingly, there, North Carolina and Tennessee, are a little red there in terms of affordability, and then Florida obviously is very red. And then you look, Alaska, very affordable. Hawaii, not affordable at all. There's no shock there. That's been like that for a long, long time. And then, under building criteria, again, a building criteria here again becomes more of a little bit more of a mixed bag. The middle, again, the central part of the United States, much more red, whereas you go over to the west, outside of California, is a lot more green. North, again, East Coast, once you get to Virginia on down, becomes very green. Going up, PA on up, again, for the most part, very red, but then it does get green as you get back up toward Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. So very, again, kind of interesting there. So then it says, final grade. There's room for improvement everywhere. So to compute a final grade out of 100, we simply average the affordability score with the home building score, giving each subtotal equal weighting. This gives us a balanced view into current affordability in each state and what we can expect in terms of supply growth there. And then again, as we go down here to the final report card, again, no surprise there. California has an F. Oregon has an F. Washington State is sitting there at a C minus. Montana's got a D. Idaho C. Nevada C minus. Utah gets a C. Arizona gets a C. New Mexico gets a C minus. Colorado gets a C. Wyoming gets a C minus. North Dakota gets a C. South Dakota B. Nebraska B. Kansas C. Oklahoma C plus. One of the rare A's, Texas gets an A minus. Minnesota gets a B minus. Iowa gets an A minus. So another rare A there. So the three states that got A's were Iowa, Texas, and South Carolina. So kind of interesting. Missouri got the C. Arkansas gets a B. Louisiana gets a B minus. Mississippi gets a C minus. Got back up here. So Wisconsin gets a C plus. Michigan gets a C. Illinois gets a C. Indiana gets a B plus. Ohio gets a C. Kentucky gets a C plus. Tennessee gets a C. Mississippi C minus. I think I might have done that one already. Alabama gets a B minus. Georgia gets a B. Florida gets a C. South Carolina A. North Carolina B plus. Virginia gets a B minus. West Virginia gets a C. Ohio gets a C plus. Indiana gets a B plus. Pennsylvania gets a C. Let's see here if we get into the little states here. Where's Maryland? I'm trying to click on Maryland here. I think Maryland's got it. Maryland's got a C. Delaware gets a C plus. Jersey gets a C minus. New York State gets a big F. Massachusetts gets an F. Connecticut gets an F. Rhode Island gets an F. New Hampshire C minus. Vermont C minus. And then Maine gets a C. We already talked about Alaska overall has a C minus, and Hawaii gets an F. So again, very interesting. But again, you can see there, western part of the state, for the most part, very red, getting, a lot of C's and D's and F's. Central part of the U.S., very green. Got a couple A's, got a couple B's, got some C's, but overall pretty good. Southeastern part of the U.S., I would say, Virginia on down, looking very good. Bunch of A's, bunch of B's, couple of C's. But then that Northeast corridor going up there, once you get over, over PA and New Jersey that are basically sitting on a couple of C's, a lot of F's, and then a bunch of C's there at the top. But very, very interesting. But I think that, when you look at this, just coming back to the fact that, if you make $100,000 a year and you can only afford 37% of the listings that are out there, and if you're on the, if you make less than $50,000 a year, you can afford less than 10% of the houses on the market. That's very, very disconcerting, and we have to do something. I think regulation in terms of building houses, I think regulation needs to come down. Obviously, we got to cut interest rates. But everything is high. Utilities are high, taxes are high, insurance is high. Insurance is a big one. We've got to figure out something with insurance there. But we have to work on this issue because housing has to become more affordable for the people in this country. This just can't continue the way it has. So, but anyway, I hope people found this report. Very interesting. So I certainly did when it came out. So, but there will be links in the description below if you want to click on them and go and check them out. But that being said, I will wrap up by saying if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. That always helps the channel. Remember, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. Please be sure to leave your comments down below, as I always love getting back to everybody. And as always, make sure to check out some of the other content on the channel. I hope everyone has a great day out there, and I will see everyone again real soon. Thanks a lot.